Today we're going to be talking about the real world problem with 357 Magnum. I want you guys to meet my friend. This old guy right here. He's a big boy. He's got a big old head. Look at him backing up. All the rest of his herd always hang out much further away from the fence line here, but this big old boy, he likes to come up to the fence and check me out. It's been a while since there's been a bull out here, but this one's a pretty big guy. My daughter likes to call him thickbacks. Whenever she sees a bull, she's like, man, that's another thickback. I thought I'd introduce you guys to my little friend who always comes and checks me out up here on the fence line. He is majestic, ain't he? Hey, buddy. You doing all right? You could just blow through this fence if you wanted to, but you have no idea, do you? Man, you were a big one. How's it going, guys, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk. My name is Chad, and this is the Hopeful Homestead. You're sitting out here right now with me next to my tiny cabin on wheels, parked at my little campsite that I've built here on my family's property that we're calling the Hopeful Homestead. And in this series of videos, I like to sit outside with a cup of coffee and talk to all the husbands and dads out there about a lot of the difficult things in life we have to deal with. And we talk about firearms and self-defense and home defense, protecting our families as dads, as husbands. And part of that discussion is talking about what kind of ammunition you use, what kind of caliber gun you want to use to defend your family. And if you followed me for a while, you know that I have quite the affinity for 45 Colt and 22 long rifle. Those two cartridges as a pairing, fit in well with my love of revolvers and lever guns, but also both have their purpose for various reasons in a firearms kit for your household. Now, as a close second to those two is 357 Magnum / 38 Special. I do enjoy 357 and I do enjoy 38 Special. Heck, my everyday carry pocket carry gun is right here. It is a 38 Special that I pocket carry in this little pocket carry holster. And this thing is what I protect my family with every time we leave the house, because it is such a good form factor for pocket carry. And because 38 Special is very similar to 45 Colt in recoil management, in loudness without hearing protection, and velocity, it's just about half the size of a bullet, half the weight of a bullet. That's from a projectile standpoint. But the benefit of that being that it allows the gun to be a smaller, thinner form factor for pocket carry specifically. So I've got nothing against 38 Special or 357. I think they're great cartridges. I think 357 Magnum, some of the hotter buffalo bore loads of that with a hard flat nose, hard cast lead bullet, those things, shooting out of a rifle are getting, dang near 2,000 feet per second velocities, which is really impressive for a pistol cartridge, and has many applications when it comes to hunting. If you're trying to penetrate through something for some reason, that's going to have some of the best penetration capability. And it's the cartridge that I use in my 6-inch Colt Python. If I can only have one gun with me when I'm hiking out in nature, I prefer to have that double action Colt Python big heavy gun with a heavy load buffalo bore heavy outdoorsman ammunition in it, and that gives me 6 shots that are deep penetrating, as heavy of a 357 Magnum bullet as you can get. And I think that that's important for certain applications. I still prefer and enjoy 357 for that reason. But the main problem that I'm getting at here in this video, and I've discussed this in other ways on this channel, is the loudness of 357 Magnum. I can tell you right now, I cannot imagine firing off a 357 round inside of a house in a home defense scenario where you've got an intruder in your home and you fire off one of those, especially if it's one of those buffalo bore heavy loads. But even just a run-of-the-mill 357 Magnum load that's traveling 1,300 feet per second or so, it is a loud cartridge. It is a lot of gunpowder. I mean, the difference for me when I'm shooting off 357 out of my Colt Python versus when I'm target practicing with 45 Colt, the amount of gunpowder residue that gets all over the gun is astounding with the 357 Magnum compared to the 45 Colt. The 45 Colt barely leaves any markings on the pistol at all in terms of burn marks near the barrel or near the cylinder gap between the cylinder and the barrel. Whereas 357 Magnum, I feel like after 6 rounds, I have to wipe the whole gun down, or else it's going to leave permanent damage to the coloring of the stainless finish. That right there is enough evidence that can tell you that there's a lot more gunpowder being a part of the equation with 357 Magnum, which gives you the reason as to why it's so loud. And I've told this story many times on this channel about the time I killed a snake with some of that 357 buffalo bore ammunition. I used to carry, right now I have my single action Army clone Cimarron Thunderball here, 4 3/4 inch barrel, but I had basically the same gun of this in 357 before this one back in the day, and I was carrying that out here early on when I started doing different projects out here before I was building this fence, and I killed a snake that kept bothering me, kept following me, and it would not leave me alone, and I shot the head off of that thing. And yes, 357 certainly did the job, but my goodness, I put a couple of extra rounds at it because I didn't know for sure if it was dead. It was still moving after I hit it, and 2 to 3 rounds of that 357 without hearing protection on, because obviously I'm not carrying hearing protection when I'm in the middle of doing farm work. My Lord, I mean, my head was ringing, my ears were ringing. I kept feeling around inside my ears because it felt moist, like I thought, man, are my ears bleeding? But thankfully weren't. But it was just disorienting, completely disorienting. And I thought to myself, man, that's out here in this wide open area with nothing to really cause any, echo to bounce the sound back off of. I can't imagine shooting that off indoors in a self-defense scenario in your home. I mean, phew, you'd have permanent hearing damage. After telling that story in a couple other videos on this channel, I've had a couple of guys in the comments telling me about how they fired off a round near the side of a barn or a building that was nearby, and it echoed that loudness off the barn back at their ear. And this one guy was telling me that he bled from the ear, and he actually burst his eardrum as a result of that, and he didn't get hearing back in that ear for several months after just one shot at 357 Magnum. And I'm sorry, that is a problem. That is a real world problem of 357, because in a real world scenario where you're deploying it, you're not going to be having hearing protection on. When you're target practicing, or if you're hunting where you're planning on shooting your gun and you know that you're going to be doing it and it's in a safe environment where you're wearing hearing protection and it's, everything that goes along with that, then yes, that's fine. But when you're out in town, or if you're out on your homestead, if you're a farmer and you're a homesteader, you're out in your land protecting yourself against wildlife threats and pests, you're not wearing hearing protection. And so that's a very real reality of 357 Magnum that I feel like isn't talked about enough. Everybody gets caught up in YouTube around the ballistics, around the accuracy, around how flat something shoots, about what kind of accuracy you can have over great distances. All that stuff is great and fun to look at, and yeah, it matters. But in real world applications, the loudness of a round without hearing protection on is something to think about. And that's where I prefer 45 Colt to 357, and honestly 38 Special to 357. But that's going to do it for today's video. Just wanted to shed some light on that in a more direct way. Touched on it a few times here on the channel before, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about more. But thanks for being here again. My name is Chad. This is the Hopeful Homestead, and I hope you consider sticking around to follow my family's journey as we build our forever home here out on our property over the next 6 months or so. We'll be building a little farmhouse with a wraparound porch, a barn, and putting in more fencing, planting some crops, raising some farm animals, doing a bunch of stuff that's going to be an awesome life out here. So stick around for that journey if you feel like it. But if you feel like you're sticking around today, I got a video right here talking about that Colt Python and why I carry it as my hiking gun whenever I'm out in nature hiking as my only gun. So go click on that, and I'll see you over in that video. Thanks, guys.